If you're interested in breaking generational patterns, but you don't know where to start, this video is for you. The idea of being the cycle breaker for your family line can feel really empowering, but you might be wondering, how can I actually do that? And the first step is simply just recognizing these patterns. They could be around relationships, people pleasing, or even just how you respond to stress. But just recognizing a pattern isn't enough to automatically change it. So in this video, I'll talk about how generational patterns begin to shift. One thing I've noticed through my own healing journey, along with talking to other people doing the same kind of work, is that breaking generational patterns often happens on multiple levels. It's not just about changing your thoughts. It's about how these patterns show up in our bodies, how they influence our reactions, and how we slowly start choosing something different. So I want to walk through a few pieces of this process. And it's not because there is a perfect formula to do this, but really the more you can learn and become comfortable with these different steps, the less overwhelming this process feels. The first step in changing a pattern is learning to notice it. And that may sound really obvious, but a lot of these patterns are operating almost like autopilot for us. They're in our subconscious. We react to things without questioning where these reactions are coming from. So it's developing an awareness and learning to recognize these patterns that we inherited. For example, you might notice things like feeling responsible for other people's emotions, avoiding conflict because it feels uncomfortable or unsafe, pushing yourself to constantly achieve things or be productive, or even just assuming that you have to handle everything on your own. When these patterns show up, they can feel like they're just parts of our personality. But really, most of them are just learned responses from our family system. Maybe certain emotions weren't talked about openly. Maybe being strong and independent was necessary for survival. Maybe there were experiences in previous generations that shaped how people respond to stress. So one of the most powerful questions you can start asking yourself is this: is this reaction truly mine, or is it something I inherited? Just asking that question can open some space, and space is where change begins. One reason that generational patterns can feel so hard to change is that they aren't just beliefs in the mind. They're often patterns in the nervous system, and the nervous system needs to feel safe to change. If your body learned at a young age that certain situations were stressful or unsafe, it may automatically still respond in that same way, even if the circumstances are completely different now. For example, if previous generations had to stay on constant alert of a threat, the nervous system can become wired for hypervigilance. Or if emotions weren't openly expressed in your family, your body might have learned to shut down or suppress certain emotions. These responses aren't character flaws. They're survival strategies. And survival strategies don't just disappear because intellectually we understand them. And that's why practices that help calm the mind and soothe the nervous system can be really beneficial during this process. Things like slowing down, paying attention to your breath, meditation, spending time in nature, or even just learning to notice what your body is feeling. What are the sensations that you feel in your body in times that you feel safe versus times you feel unsafe? When your body begins to feel safer, it becomes much easier to respond differently than the way you did before. Breaking generational patterns also means questioning identities that we may have unconsciously carried for years. In many families, people begin taking on certain roles. You might be the peacemaker, the caretaker, the responsible one, or the strong one who never asked for help. And those roles have developed for very understandable reasons. But as you grow and evolve, you're allowed to ask yourself a very important question. Is this still who I want to be? Because becoming the cycle breaker often means slowly redefining your identity. It means allowing yourself to make choices that previous generations either didn't feel safe making or didn't have the choice to make. Every time you choose a healthier boundary, every time you respond with compassion instead of self-criticism, every time you do something differently than a pattern you inherited, you're rewriting the story. You're choosing a new story. And that shift doesn't just affect you. It influences what gets carried forward in your family. One thing I think that is really important in this process is compassion. And not only having compassion for yourself, but for your entire family line and everybody that came before you. When we start recognizing generational patterns, it can often bring up frustration towards the past. But most of the time, those patterns developed because people were doing the best they could with the circumstances they were given. Our ancestors were responding to the environment they lived in, the resources they had, and the challenges they faced. So breaking generational patterns isn't about blaming the past. It's about honoring the resilience that came before you while allowing yourself to choose something different. You can respect where you came from without repeating it all. And that balance of awareness and compassion is where the real healing begins. If you want to reflect on this a little more, here's something you might want to consider. Is there a pattern in your life that feels familiar, but no longer feels aligned with who you want to be? It might be something small, or it might be something big that you've been noticing for years. Just becoming aware of it is already meaningful in a really big way. Breaking generational patterns isn't something that happens overnight. It's a slow process. It starts with awareness. It grows as your nervous system learns that it's safe to respond differently. And it deepens each time you choose a different path than the one you inherited. And each time you make that choice, you're helping create a new story. If this topic resonates with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Are there any patterns that you've noticed in your family that have been repeated generation after generation? And if so, have you been the cycle breaker to end that pattern? I'd love to hear about it. And if you want to go a little bit deeper, I shared a guided meditation last week for an ancestral healing where you can start releasing these patterns that aren't serving you in this lifetime. But thank you, as always, for being here with me. I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next video.